Hello, Doan here, and welcome back to Iwaihime. I hope that it will run as smooth as it did for part 4.
なんでもあの二人、いいなずけ同士らしいぜ。
いいなずけ？黒髪さんとあいつが？
Oh, right, talk about that one asshole.
亀沼のやつがすすだに引っ越してきたのは中1の時らしいんだけど、あんなクズのどこがお眼鏡にかなったやら。
中学では有名だったぜ。いいなずけがいるやつがいるらしいってな。
I had a fiance in middle school.
どうしてそんなことに？
Sho Kamanuma had moved to Susuda only 4 years ago. On the other hand, the Kurakamis were a family who owned a lot of land in this region for generations. What could the two families possibly have in common? In contrast to the wealthy and famous Kurakamis, the Kamanumas barely had a penny to their name, to say nothing of land. By that autumn, Sho Kamenuma, I don't know if I'll be able to get it correctly the first time, was already engaged to Toei.
何しろ多感なお年頃だからよ。学校中で話題になったぜ。
あいつも最初はさぞや浮かれただろうね。でもすぐに黒髪さんがちょっと難のある子だと分かったみたいで。
どうしてあいつは、亀沼くんは言い名付けを引き受けたんだろう。
Yeah.
噂が本当なら黒髪さんの一目惚れなんだって。
There's no way.
一目惚れ？
There's no way.
どうしても婿養子になってほしいって黒髪家が拝み倒したんだってさ。
その際にとんでもない金を積んだって噂だぜ。
That would make more sense.
それで亀沼のやつ、グレイトに羽振りがいいらしいぜ。
Toei Kurakami wasn't ordinary, that much was certain. It was absurd to imagine her family going to great lengths to get her a husband. Still though, that didn't explain why they chosen a boy like that, of all people. If they loved one another, then there'd be no issue. But it hadn't looked that way to Suzumu at all. At the very least, Kamanuma treated her more like a pet than anything else. And it hadn't felt like Toei had any love for him either. Too late. Because Suzumu had been too late, she'd been forced to accept this fate. It almost looked as though she'd resigned herself to that outcome. And suppressing her emotions, she had sworn obedience to Kamanuma as a result.
じゃあな、また明日な。
Natsuo waved goodbye to his friends in front of a deli in the shopping district. The shop's name was Atsuta's Piping Hot Deli. His family ran the place. Suzumu and Tsubikiko waved back as they left.
すずむ、しつこいと思うかもしれないけど黒髪さんに近づくのは良くないと思うよ。
どうして？
I feel like it might be too late for that.
うまく言えないけど、その良くない感じがするの。
そうかもしれないね。少なくとも彼女は遅すぎたにせよ、救いの手を求めていたのだけは間違いないと思う。
進む。
それが良くない感じの雰囲気になって感じられるんだと思うよ。
進む。
キコちゃん。
私もう一度警告するからね。進むは黒髪さんに近づかない方がいい。絶対に何か恐ろしいことが起こるから。
どうしてそんなことがわかるの？
私の第六感すっごく当たるんだよ。
ありがとう。用心するよ。
用心しながら近づくよって意味でしょ。もう知らない。
Yeah, we're definitely going to be doing something about it. Tsubikiko stuck out her tongue and slammed the door to her apartment. I walked into my own apartment and closed the door. Entering my own space, isolating myself from the outside world, filled me with an odd sense of lethargy. I don't know why I can't say that. Sure, it was a relief to be home, but I saw the strangest feeling that my door was like a portal to another world. Though it was warm enough to make me sweat a little out there, it was cool in my room. Almost like the place was too big for me alone. I didn't know why, but I felt like I'd been here on my own for a long time.
汗をかいたね。シャワーを浴びよう。
When I was alone, I tended to talk to myself to ward off the silliness of it all. Perhaps it was a bad habit of mine. I hung my school uniform up and entered the bathroom with a fresh pair in my hand. The bathroom was humid when I went in, almost as though someone had only just finished bathing there. I picked up the scent of bathwater. And someone used my bath? Someone's scent was lingering amidst the heat. As it dawned upon me that I didn't recognize whose it was, I felt a twinge of unease. God, can they stop with that? I slowly yet gently pushed open the door to the bath. When I did, heat rushed out, along with a sickening body odor. Wait! That's the same bath. That is the same bathroom from the last video of that one dude. Oh, and in the bath was meat. No, it was probably a person. Something slovenly and obese, bringing to mind a distant stomach bulging with fat and grease. What? That's what he turned into? Curly black body hair peeked out between his swollen folds, filling with disgust and revulsion. Blemishes and shaggy moles, crimson scars from scratches, scratching sweaty itches too hard. Skin as hard as scabs outside the joints, bruised blood vessels that wriggled like worms, and an acrid stench like sweat and candle wax that spread within the heat and clung to my nostrils. A blob of meat, like an especially disgusting middle-aged man, was sitting right there. All of a sudden, it squelched and twisted. Like, what the? Oh, that's what he turned into. Oh my god, that is disgusting. I couldn't tell what was its front and what was its back, but it was clear it had noticed me and was turning to face me. Interesting voice you have there, Mr. Blob. Its voice sounded like a man's voice put through a filter to protect his identity, like you'd hear on the news. I was sure its words meant something, but I couldn't understand it at all. All I could make out for sure was a spine-tingling laugh. Past the blob, I could see a bundle of black hair. It was a girl with long black hair and snow-white skin. No, a doll, the size of a human. Its joints clearly indicated it was what they called a ball-jointed doll. The blob held the doll as it turned around. When I saw the doll's face, I couldn't help but gasp. Because it was Kurakami's face. Are you kidding me? Are you kidding me? It wasn't the face of a doll modeled after Kurakami. everything from the head down to the doll. But the head itself wasn't. It was her face, her head. One of Kurakami's joints screamed with a sickening crack. I couldn't tell what the blob was saying, but it was obvious what I had returned to the attention to Kurakami. The blob fiercely embraced the doll, attached to Kurakami's head, and greedily sucked on it. Oh. The ball joints creaked with pain and moaned in the exact same rhythm. Kurakami broke out into a cold sweat and gritted her teeth. She was clearly in agony. And oddly enough, my heart felt relief in the face of that repulsive terror. The disgusting relief that the blob wouldn't do anything to me while I was busy with Kurakami. Occasionally there would be a crack, and one of the ball joints would bend in an anatomically impossible direction. Even Kurakami couldn't help but moan in agony. I couldn't even begin to imagine the harrowing pain she must be in. I didn't know how long Kurakami would hold the blob's interest, but eventually it would get bored, and when it did, I would be next. But part of me wanted to fight and save Kurakami. However, the grotesque blob formed me in my fear were both so overwhelming I didn't know what I could do against the thing. But I couldn't just ignore Kurakami's suffering. If I couldn't work up the courage now, I never would.
Kurokami-sanを離せ!
All of a sudden, the blob stopped. Then it slowly but surely turned back to face me. Fear and regret seized me from head to toe. There really was a fine line between courage and reckless naivete, wasn't there? The ability to feel calm and safe when faced with such terror was truly a luxury. Oh, let me just get my Google Translate. The blob was surely laughing at me, and then stopped toying with Kurakami and tossed her in the hot water of the tub. Kurakami's body sank into the bath with a loud splash and vanished. What rose out of the water next was Kurakami. It was a doll, one I recognized. The Japanese doll Kurakami always carried was floating there in the tub. The blob didn't seem pleased by it. It groaned with discontent as it scooped up the doll and turned it around and around, studying it from every angle. That was probably why I wanted on the chance. With the blob's attention off me, this was my first and last opportunity to escape. But my legs wouldn't move. They crumbled beneath me as though I were a marionette. Of course, that blob was only playing with the dolls, so even I was its doll too. Without even realizing it, body from the neck down, I had become a ball-jointed doll, just like Kurakami. The blob lurched menacingly toward me, then lifted me up, placed me between its folds, and smothered me against it. Ugh. The feeling of its curly hairs against me, its revolting odor and heat and sewer-like breath filled my throat with bile. The blob touched my ball joints and lovingly twisted them. From time to time, I felt them bend in ways they shouldn't with a crack. Though barely conscious, I could feel my joints bend and break into various directions, one after another. Finally, they all broke, leaving me nothing more than a head. The blob embraced my head and licked it with the gooey substance oozing out with its rising breath. The stench was beyond repulsive. I felt like I was going to suffocate from all the nausea. Soon enough, the blob engulfed my head. I slowly sat up in the dimly lit bathroom. It was dark around me. Apparently it was nighttime. How long had I been lying there? I felt like I'd just been in the throes of a horrible dream. I exhaled heavily as if to drive out something disgusting that built up in my lungs. I could tell I had an awful nightmare, but I couldn't remember anything specific about it. That's just how it is. Nightmares are vivid when you have them, but vanish with barely a trace once you wake up.
僕はどうしてこんなところに
Maybe I've been anemic and passed out? I had no clue. The clearer my head got, the more I realized worrying about it wouldn't accomplish anything. I shook my head and opened the door to the tub to start a bath. Traces of warmth lingered still. There was no way anyone was there. My elbows and knees had been hurting ever since I woke up. Wonder why. I checked my elbows in the mirror to find them a little red and swollen. The night I had the strangest dream. It was of Kurakami sitting alone in a world of falling black snow. The black snow landed on the shoulders of her white robe, staining her in a monochrome gradation. She looked lonely, so I tried approaching her, but no matter how much I walked, she didn't get any closer. The firm and cool, transparent wall was separating us. At the very least, I wanted to tell her she wasn't alone. I kept pounding on the wall and shouting at the top of my lungs, but she didn't hear me at all. On closer inspection, I realized tears were streaming down Kurakami's face. Black snow sullied her tear-stained cheeks, making it look as though she were crying lines of black. She was facing my direction, but it didn't seem she could see me. Perhaps the wall was only transparent on my side. If that were true, then she was all by herself within the wall, the black snow burying her whole. My heart ached at the sight of her tears. Was it pity? Sympathy? No, it was a sense of duty, no question about it. A baseless sense of responsibility telling me I had to save her. If I didn't, she'd be left alone in that world, doomed to be buried, fade away under the black snow. All the while shedding tears stained black by the suit. Even after I woke up, I just stared blankly at the ceiling for a while. This was the first time I'd ever remembered a dream so clearly.
なんでこんなにも僕の頭は黒髪さんでいっぱいに
I couldn't understand my own feelings. I wondered if maybe I was in love with her, but that definitely wasn't the case. I was an innocent boy, just like the rest. I knew the bittersweet taste of unrequited love. True, the fact that I couldn't get her out of my head was similar to that. But this was different. I just knew I had to help her. There was no time left, not even a second. As she said, it was too late. And so I had to help her. Why? I didn't know. But that emotion was filling my heart and telling me I had to act as soon as possible. The peculiar feeling stuck with me even after Kiko invited me to go to school with her. I still couldn't get Kurakami out of my head even after we got there.
北上さん。
はい。
衣笠さん。
はい。
黒上さん。ああ、黒上さんは欠席の連絡が来てましたね。
I wonder why. It wasn't rare for Kurakami to be late for or even miss homeroom. But even so, she still went to school every day. At the very least, this was the first time anyone had called in to say she'd been absent beforehand.
珍しいね。黒髪さんが欠席なんて。
いいんじゃね？どうせ来たって勉強なんかしてねえし。
松田くん、そういうこと言わないの。進は黒髪さんにすっかりご就寝ね。
いけないかな。
あんな不吉そうな女に隠れた魅力を見抜いたってことか？さすがスサラ、やっぱりグレートな男だぜ。
はあ、もう好きにしたらいい。本当にどうなっても知らないから。
ハルミヤ、嫉妬は見苦しいぜ。
松田くんは引っ込んでて。
そんなに黒髪さんに近づいちゃいけないの？
知らない。好きにすれば。今にきっとなんかバッドなことが起こるからね。勝手に呪われちゃえ。
Oh, I feel like he probably already was.
大丈夫だよ。お清めなら毎日欠かさないからね。
進、その肘どうしたの
Ache hurts. I was getting a little sweaty, so I rolled up my sleeves. Kiku must have noticed my swollen elbow.
どうしたんだろうね。寝違えちゃったのかな。
痛くないの？
やめてよ。触られるとちょっと痛いよ。
そっちの肘もかばってるようだけど。
昨日の晩からなんとなく痛むんだよ。両肘と両膝が。
呪いだ。
Oh yeah, she knew immediately.
大げさな。
No, she isn't.
黒髪さんの呪いが移ったんだよ。もっとひどくなっても知らないよ。
I don't know if it's
大丈夫
specifically
だよ。
her.
放課後になってもまだ痛んだら病院で見てもらうから。
どっちかっていうとお祓いだと思うよ。
Kiko was dead set in her belief Kurakami was a cursed being. I guess it was just because girls have a thing for the occult, probably. And if all the girls believed that, none of them would help Kurakami. So it really was all up to me. A strange sense of urgency was still plaguing me even at school. I was going to wonder if I was in love with her. And yet again, I came to the conclusion it was a sense of duty instead. Why? Why did I feel this way for a girl I'd never met before? Was it obligation, responsibility, sympathy, pity? No matter how many times I retracted the source of my emotion, it always came back to the baseless sense of duty. Even after lunch break had come and gone, I was still captive to that emotion.
休みかよ。疲れね。
You
翔ちゃん、大丈夫
Sho kept hacking and coughing as though he were choking on his own spit. His buddies kept rubbing his back with wry grins until he finally calmed down. Sho wiped his forehead to find beads of sweat. He must have really had it rough.
なんか朝から調子悪くてよ。なんか粉っぽいんだよ。
花粉じゃね？今の季節いろいろ飛んでるって言うしさ。
知らねえよ。俺花粉なんかじゃねえし。
Shrill spat and disgusting coughed up phlegm.
なんだよこれ。うわ、なんだよそれ。めっちゃくれ。
What Shaw coughed up was neither yellow nor white. It was black as tar. It was the first time he'd ever coughed up something like that. Shocked, he spat again to see if more of that color came up. What came out this time was the same colorless spit as always.
くしょ。なんだよな。汚ねえな。
He stomped furiously on it.
つうかさ、朝から俺なんか調子悪いんだよな。
咳だけじゃねえの？熱もあんの？やばくね？
マジでだるくなってきた。やべえかも。
あんな気持ち悪い女に足なんか舐めさせてっから呪われてんだよ。
Well, I hope that he got. Well, honestly, I hope he got cursed. The delinquents laughed crudely, but Joe heard none of it. He was feeling terrible at the moment.
先生に言って午後老けたら？
つか横になりて
ちょっぴりだけお熱があるよね。
うっせえ。俺は平熱が低いんだよ。
ちょっと横になってみて。様子を見てみましょうね。2の C だったかしら。先生に連絡しておくわね。
マジうぜえよこの席。
Hinagata shut the curtain once she saw Sho get into bed. Once his coughing subsided slightly, Sho took his hand off his mouth. I found his palm stained black.
なんなんだよ。ちくしょう。
Though the infirmary bed wasn't all that comfortable, Sho drifted off to sleep, as though his consciousness had been swallowed whole. Let's leave that one there for now. Hope you enjoyed the video. Subscribe, hit that bell to be notified of my new ones, and follow me on Instagram because I do update a bit on there ahead of time. Hope to see you next time. See ya.